everybody in Afrolatina world. I'm very excited in making this video with Dalian, brother Dalian.
Yeah, Dalian.
Dalian. So he had sent me about like 2 years ago this great jewel of a book that he wrote. It's in Spanish, Voces Ancestros Espíritus Eternos. And it translates to ancestral voices and spirits of eternal. Correct, brother?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so let's begin. I have a whole lot of questions, and I hope we could put them all in these 30 minutes that we have. Okay, so on the second page, que dice, I'm going to speak Spanish if you don't mind, and then I'll translate it in English if you don't mind.
Absolutely fine. We're bridging language gaps. So
okay. So dice el orden y el equilibrio, which is the order and balance, right? In the religion in Ifa, it speaks about in español, it says si hay mundo, tiene que existir bueno y malo, which basically translate, in order for the world to be world, there has to be good and bad. Can you elaborate that more, brother?
Okay, absolutely. You know, in the world as perhaps our understanding has taken it, for there to be creation, for there to be any form, there has to be forces that work together. You know, in the same way a man and a woman form to create a family. In European thought, when you think of good and bad, you think that they're opposite to each other. Yes, but in African thought, we understand that for you to have good, you cannot appreciate what you call good if you don't know what bad is. Yes, and these forces are not fighting against each other, but rather they seek to create a state of balance. So this is where order comes from. Order does not come from the fact that we're being all good, whatever the good may entail, right. But that also you found a place where both these opposing or rather complementary forces can create a state of balance. So that's the core principle within African traditions. And also we see it even in one of the conceptions or ideas of the creator, or what people call God. Because in the African conception, God is not one man who's sitting in heaven and, you know, he creates the whole world. Our conception is of what we call God as a feminine and a masculine principle. And it's these two energies that create the world. So it's the extension of that same idea.
Okay.
Yes, that's what that means.
So it's like negative and positive in the battery.
Absolutely. That's a brilliant analogy, sis. Exactly. You cannot have a battery if you only have one charge. Do you understand? Fantastic. I love that. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on. On page 3, you talk about the law and attraction. Right?
Yes.
Which is the 7 universal laws, right?
That's right.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Absolutely. So the law of attraction, again, refers to the state of energy that we are. Because, you know, myself, sis, you see my physical manifestation, but then what allows me to speak, what allows me to move is a state of energy within, what we call your spirit. And everything is composed of spirit. So in the African understanding, we see beyond the physical form into that energetic space. And because we're all beings of energy, we are able to pull, we actually attract and in a sense repel each other. So what the law of attraction is built on, the fact of this very same fact that because of this energetic interaction we have, you're able to pull to yourself what you can actually project to the world. So, you know, you say, I need ABC, and I can then work with visualization. Excuse me for that. That's my phone. We can work with the law of visualization.
You can do Star Wars too. Is that Star Wars team?
Which one?
That your phone rang, is that Star Wars?
Oh, no, it's not. It's the normal Nokia phone.
Oh, okay, I thought it was Star Wars. I thought you were a fan.
Yeah, not a fan. So apologies for that interruption.
That's okay.
Bad time to call. So because we're all at the core just beings of energy, we're able to pull to ourselves other beings of energy, or even visualize and then bring into manifestation. Because since if you look around you, look at the computer, look at the cups behind you, all these figurines, where did that come from? It came from somebody's mind. So you had to see it in your mind first before you gave it a physical representation. This is what the law of attraction is. We're able to pull energy, direct energy, and work with energy. That's the core principle of the law of attraction.
So it's the manifestation, like your thoughts, and then bringing the manifestation into the material world.
Absolutely. Exactly that.
All right. So then, brother, there's a lot of people that we're not connected, especially in the Afrolatina world. There's a lot of us that don't have the that African connection to our ancestry.
Right.
And I wanted to talk more about the ancestral aspect. And also I wanted to, because of slavery and the conditioning that we have, I see a lot of brothers and sisters arguing back and forth about the Catholic Church, and I'm Christian, and you over there, and you're doing evil things, and there's this back and forth, and then we get brothers and sisters that are in Ifa on Lukomi, and they look at it where they're mistaken in the sense that you're worshiping a white god with blue eyes. Let's talk a little bit about the Jesus Christ analogy and that whiteness with the blue eyes, brother.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I get an idea of where your question is going, and I'll break it down into pieces, because your comment about the ancestral connection is very, very important. Right. Now, you actually even mentioned the word conditioning, and we've just talked about this law of attraction, or this ability to work with energy mentally as well as physically. And this is where you see the importance of why Europeans, aka white people, ensured that they gave us an image of a man that pretty much reflects them. Because then psychologically, because what we call spirituality is to a large degree psychological. That's one of the first principles of spirituality, the law of mentalism. And as I showed you, everything we create first comes from the mind. So if I've given you an image of a man that looks like me, and I say, this is what God looks like, every time you see me, you think you've seen God. You're not even conscious. It's a psychological association. And this is what makes spirituality, and even its reduced form, religion, so powerful, because it locks your mind into an idea. And ideas are very powerful. Ideas perpetuate themselves. So where you see this idea of us self-hate, basically talking about, oh yeah, my skin is lighter than yours, so I'm better than you. But you're not, when we say intelligent or able to use your mind better than mine, your skin shade doesn't matter. Your skin shade comes as a result of the genes of both parents. Do you understand? So European society, because they studied in Africa in ancient times and took this knowledge, they've understood the importance and the power behind the use of psychological principles and reflections to shape our behavior. So it all boils down to the fact that they've put this image to tell us that this is the highest form of achievement and you're here. So every kind of black person is looking to go up there. And Jesus benefits whiteness, because the first depictions of Jesus, they even had him looking Aryan. He was blonde, he had blue eyes. And then as the time went on and they saw that people were rejecting this idea, because Nazism, the Nazis, Hitler, he also took this idea on board. So if you notice now, most of the depictions of Jesus, he no longer has blonde hair. He no longer has blue eyes. He's now brown. They've kind of tempered down the image. Yes, but the basic point is it still looks white. So what they're telling you is you can't get to this place called heaven unless you look like this guy. So again, this is what we call the psychological manipulation, or you can even call it juju, because juju is a way of tricking people's mind to believe things which are not real. For ourselves, sadly, and I'm extending to the point that you were kind of trying to flesh out at the beginning, about, you know, how even you might have, even in the traditions now, you have some people saying, oh, you know, my Ifa is better than your Lukumi, you know, because maybe still you use the images that represent the Christian saints. Yeah. Again, you find that we've also, some of us have internalized this idea of oppression, and we don't even see it, because as I've just mentioned, in spirit has no color, spirit has no form, spirit has no shape. So we are fighting over man-made ideas and it's not benefiting anybody. We're dealing with source, with energy. And that's how we need to direct our fights. Of course, I will welcome any day that these traditions take away these images of these Christian saints, because every time you look at that image, psychologically, you lock your brain to that image. So, right, you know, even in the traditions where people might say, oh, yeah, you know, I know Santeria does it more than Lukumi, because Lukumi practitioners will tell you, no, we want to go to the African source. But the Santeria ones are more, and you do find that Santeria practitioners are mainly European descended. But the Lukumi ones now start to get more into the African and yet darker skin. So we're fighting again over a man-made illusion, right, you know, and it becomes important. Our ancestors had to use those images because they had to trick their slave masters to keep their traditions. But these days, nobody's forcing us. We're not on plantations anymore.
There's no need for it.
Exactly. So if we're really going to connect with the African core, then let's make our minds as powerful as what we want to see.
Right. Now, there was something else that I wanted to add to that. I want you to add to it. Okay. There's a lot of argument where, yes, it's a white Jesus with blue eyes, but where did the spirituality come from?
Right. Well, where the spirituality came from, you've asked a question that goes back in time. Again, we know for a fact, this is not even hidden history anymore. Herodotus, Archimedes, Pythagoras, you name it. Those fathers of civilization studied in the temples of Egypt. And in the temples of Egypt, they had what they call the mystery schools, where they taught deep astronomical, alchemical knowledge. So we see that most of even the Christian text, the Judaic text, let's not forget, actually, before I even go further, the man who they attribute all these religions to, the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, was a man called Abraham. And Abraham, as we know, was a European who traveled to this place back then known as Kemet, the land of the people with dark faces. Yes. And Abraham, and this is even in the Bible, you find that Abraham tricked the Pharaoh to allow him to stay because he was fleeing persecution. And when they lived in that place, we know that they learned a lot, because when they left that place via another character called Moses, this is where we start to see the story of, for instance, Exodus in the Bible. So, and all of a sudden, this man called Moses possessed metaphysical abilities. He could do things which the normal person could not do, because this knowledge stems from the Kemetian mystery school. And this is why I love the two figurines you have in the back, you know, with the balance and the pharaoh, because this is the source of religion. But what they took out, the essential core, Sister Sarah, that they took out is spirituality is about developing yourself from within out. It's not about you. No one can come and save you like a Jesus or even God, because you are an extension from God. Yes, with that source of energy that made everything in the universe is also what we know to be your spirit. Yeah. So what the European did was take all that story and take away the self-empowering elements so that you can create, in a sense, a political party, because that's what religions are. They're political parties, and they vote for the Pope or the chief imam or the chief rabbi. Yeah. But they don't seek self-empowerment anymore. So religion, in a sense, de-empowers you, whereas spirituality allows you to find yourself, your inherent power.
I think what the white man has done is remove it and gave himself that power. So you always have to depend on them. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you go to church and you go and you say your sins, and then he cleans your sins, and then
Yeah,
it's a form of control of the people. So you always got to go to them. You always got to rely on them.
that's
So
right. That's right.
um
It's full control.
yeah. So let's talk about what you were talking about, the head, el ori, how
Mhm.
important ori is.
Absolutely beautiful. So the head in all African spiritual traditions is perhaps considered the most important aspect of your being, because it's through the head that we get our thoughts, our understanding. We don't know even if your thoughts exist in your head, or maybe your head is like a receiving station. So your thoughts, your spirit could come from somewhere else. This is just the place where that information is processed. The Ori is very important, and it's a lovely question you've asked now, especially as we're talking about disempowerment, because the Ori, we know to hold what we call your divine consciousness, because each and every person that has taken the shape of a body, like yourself and like myself, we are born because we came here for a purpose. There's something that we've taken this body to achieve in this world. And what we are meant to achieve will ultimately be of benefit to other people. This is how what we call progress, how societies progress and become better. So the Ori, the idea behind Ori is that when we're born, we come with a mission. In a sense, we're almost like, like soldiers on a mission. We've come here to do something. And the Ori has that mission, the blueprint of what we're to do. So this is why in the traditions we appropriate our head, like literally the person you invoke or you pray to is your head, because what you ask your head is for it to remember those instructions so you can live the instructions out. That's the importance of the Ori.
What are the ways that we could connect back to or pray to our Ori to make it strong, so we're able to remember our destiny?
Right. There are two core things, and I love how the question has now come back to the ancestors. So first, I'll tell you about the invocation for your Ori, and then after we can look at why ancestral reverence becomes key, because it's part of that story. You're not yourself. You're a build-up of all your ancestors from the past, and you're now the modern day version. So with the Ori veneration, stemming from the Yoruba traditions, because other traditions also have other ways you can appropriate your Ori. But it's as simple as holding your head, right? And this can be every morning, every day, and just asking yourself, because this is what's key. You have a conversation with yourself because you want to bring the best of yourself out. So every morning you just hold your head. I'm not going to force everyone to speak Yoruba. It would be nice if you can learn Yoruba at some point. But again, language is man-made. Language is sound, is vibration. And vibration comes from or is linked to your intent. So just every morning you hold your head. And one of the best things you need to do first is start by affirming yourself. I know I'm capable. I know I can achieve all I want. In modern society, we call this now self-affirmations. But that's exactly the same concept that our Asian ancestors knew. So you hold your head and you see, sis, as you're saying that to yourself, what are you doing to yourself? You're making yourself feel good. You are affirming yourself that you are important in this world. The type of actions you will take after that are totally different. So there's a branch of Western science now called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And that's what NLP is all about. It's about the ability to wire your mind so that you're always thinking the best and positive things for what you need to do. Yes? So the Ori veneration or appropriation is that simple. You hold your head and you start with an affirmation to yourself. I am powerful. I am strong. I am capable. I can do what I need to do. Then you say spirit, because you are a being of spirit. Give me the directions. Give me the symbols to remember my purpose. Give me the instructions to know what to do today to take me close to my purpose. That's all there is to it. Yeah. But your Ori and your purpose becomes important, sis, because you come from a long line of ancestors. Yeah. And each and all of those ancestors exist here in your very blood, in what we call your chromosomes, what we call your DNA. Yes. The very essence exists here. So apart from your daily Ori prayers where you need to have an altar in your home. And in that altar, you need to find at least one day in a week where you sit in front of this altar. Doesn't need to be long, 5-10 minutes. And on this altar, where you put pictures of some of your ancestors, especially those who you had a very deep connection with. Yes. And what you do, you give them little offerings. You might give them, if they like coffee, a cup of coffee. If you don't even really know what they want, just give them water, because water is the essential building block of life. Yeah. And even the water you drink has the memories of those ancestors in there. Okay. So you doing that is a way of you showing respect and veneration. You opening yourself to say, give me information, because you are them. Yeah. Have you noticed is that when you look in certain families, you will notice that maybe a lot of them are constantly, let's say, lawyers or doctors or healers, because that ancestral memory is in the being themselves. So they pass on this knowledge even when you've not met this person. Yeah. Right. Modern science calls it chromosomic memory. That's what the West has now termed it. Our ancestors knew this science from ages. Yeah. So that's the importance of your ancestors and how you appropriate your Ori.
Perfect. Also, the Ori, it's the first, like Orisha. It should be, it's considered an Orisha. It's the first one, right?
Because you are an Orisha, yes? Right. Please go on. I love this question. Yes.
So hold on, let me go back to the book. This
book can I just add to that then, sis? Yeah. Before we go further. So many people, when they're coming into African traditions, they always want to say, "Oh, initiate me into Oshun. I think I'm beautiful, so I must be Oshun's daughter." Or somebody thinks I like to fight, so I'm Ogun. No, it doesn't work like that. The first most important Orisha is yourself, which is why I mentioned at the very beginning that if you do not appropriate your Ori, in the traditions, they tell you very clearly, if your Ori does not accept the other beings of energy, you will not get that connection. So the most important Orisha and the first Orisha is yourself. Yeah.
Right. I know when the beginning, when I started learning, I thought that I was Hija de Oya, and I was Oya all the way. And when I got to the Babalaos, they were like, girl. No. It's because they always ask you who you think it is, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
It wasn't. I was like, oh my God. And then they went down, and I was like shocked. Like when I found out who my Orisha was, I was like, I didn't even see that coming.
Wow.
A lot of people think that the attributes of that Orisha, that necessarily doesn't mean that you don't have the essence of that Orisha.
Absolutely.
I thought I was a female, and then I became, it was like a masculine energy. So that's where my tomboyish ways comes from.
Yeah, okay, exactly. So what was your Orisha then that was divine for you?
Chango.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, master of law and all the imbalance. And also, if I can just add for your viewers to know that all that we call Orisha exists within yourself, but it's the ones that are most prominent that in the end is divine for you. But you can pull on the energy of Oshun. Let's say if you need to attract something or manifest something, if you want change in your life, you're trying to go or cross a certain barrier. Oh yes, you make some of your rituals constantly for that energy, because it's like the idea is the destination you need to get to. So we can channel as many of them because they're part of nature, and we are nature too.
Absolutely. And that's another thing that I find interesting as I'm growing and learning more spiritually. In the very beginning, you think that the Orisha, some of the Orishas did exist in human form at one point, right? Because you see it in the Patakis and the Edus. But what's most important is, and I think that you're elaborating it very well, that it's energy, right? So like Changol is the manifestation of thunder and lightning. And then that's the energy that we're working with, not the statue that you buy. That's just a representation of him, but it doesn't mean that that's Changol that you worship. You are worshiping that energy.
Absolutely.
And that's what most people get lost there with that.
True. I absolutely agree 100%. And you know, it's like you, I went through that same process too. But then this is what spirituality is about. It's about expansion. So long as you leave yourself open to learning and growing, you find that you become this limitless being of understanding, really. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
And then the thing is that I believe too that us as humans, we need something physical to see with our eyes, right? We just can't say, oh, I believe in this. We need something.
Yes.
So we could worship in a sense, right?
Oh, no,
I think
absolutely.
in the whole religions that it's always been that way.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's the Dagara Hila Sobonfu Some she called it, you need a physical anchor. You look at it, it's almost like your gateway to visualize and see the spirit or the essence. So yeah, no, 100%. We need that because we don't see our spirits, do we?
Right. Let's talk. I know you talked about the ancestral and the Ori, which is those two things need to be very much connected. And you talked about La Boeda, the altar. And how is that those two things, the ancestral? Is the ancestral, for example, if I had a great aunt, right? And I put, water on the boiler for her, and I have attributes of her. She's able to guide me in life, right? She's that anchor. Your ancestors are those anchors to help you guide what direction you should take. Correct?
Absolutely, 100%. And Sister Sarah, not even just your ancestors in your bloodline, so to speak. Yes, any being that has taken on a bodily form. So let's say you're an activist and you really want to cause change. You can start invoking. You take a picture of, let's say, Brother Malcolm X or Queen Nzinga, or let's say even a depiction of Nani of the Maroons, and have that there. And you see, you know what they say. They have this saying that energy goes where you put your attention. Yes. So you want to embody qualities within yourself, and by calling via putting, as you said, that water there, calling out their names, you start to imbue those qualities within yourself. Absolutely. So you can just take the whole plethora and ask yourself, maybe your great aunt was, let's say she was a healer. You're now doing this is just an example, yeah. You're doing something to become, I don't know, let's say a doctor or something like that. You call that energy because you start to get guidance in your dreams. You start to see people who will help you, let's say, pass a course or get a job. That's how spirit works. It's not that you just sit there one day and call their name and then boom, magic, everything happens. You see that things start to connect, yeah,
right,
and create. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You definitely should do that. Everyone should.
Right. So let me ask you another question. As far as like ancestral, are ancestrals reborn through us again? In a sense?
I understand what you mean 100%. Yes. In African conception, you see, Africans have understood that the world is like a circle. We just keep going back and in, back and around. There's no waste. So the person who went before can now come back in the next generation. Yeah. But they'll come back obviously in a different form, and usually sometimes don't have. There's a few people who manage to come back and they remember their whole past lives. They will show you where they were born, what they were doing. They retain that memory, but it's very rare, these kind of individuals. But no, our ancestors, you sitting here, Sister Sarah, me sitting here, I could be my great grandfather that lived at a certain time. But I just don't have that knowledge of his life experience, because it's now my turn to extend that legacy forward. Yes.
Right. Gotcha. Okay, let me look at the book real quick.
Yeah.
Let me see. So you had on the book, you talk about rituals for life. Can you elaborate more on that?
Absolutely. Everything that we do is a ritual. You know, when people hear the word ritual, we start to imagine that we need a big fire, we need drummers, we need dancers. No, a ritual is a routine that, again, reflects the cycle of life. The more you do something, the more you what? Perfect it. You become better at it. You can flow with it. So rituals are tools of spiritual communication. So when you put that offering on the altar, that's a ritual. When you sit down and you think of an ancestor and say, please, ancestor, I need your help with this, that is a ritual. Ritual takes many shapes and form. Even drawing, you can draw, and that becomes a ritual. You say, okay, I want this, I'm going to draw it. You sketch it on a piece of paper, put it on your altar. You keep giving it attention. You give it water. You give it fire. You give it the basic elements of creation. And you see it take form in your life. Because it's almost like we're living in a mirror universe. And that's what ritual allows us to do. It allows us to connect to the unseen aspects or the energetic aspects so that they can take a physical form. So rituals are very important. And we do rituals all the time, Sister Sarah, even if you want to call it a basic level. We find that you might wake up every day at the same time. When you wake up, you will, I don't know, maybe eat, brush your teeth, you know, have a bath, go to work. Your whole day is a ritual.
Right.
You know, so yeah, rituals exist on many, many different levels. Rituals are key. Rituals is what defines life.
Right. So, brother, I think we did our 30 minutes.
Yes, no, I know, and we could go for longer, but thank you so very much.
No,
if I can just let your viewers know as well,
yes,
because the book exists in we have it in the English version. That was the first, and then we have the Spanish version, which is what I sent to yourselves. That's a beautiful one, and actually this is the French one. We have a French one.
Oh, you got a French too.
Yes, and a Spanish one, because, you know, Sister Sarah, our family, we don't connect as much as we can because of the language barrier, because we all speak colonial languages and we can't communicate. So it's important that we can educate ourselves as far and as wide as possible. So thank you very much for having me, and I love the conversation.
Absolutely.
You taught me a lot.
Brother, likewise. Brother, I wanted to ask you, if anyone's interested in buying your book, what platforms can they get your book at?
Okay, the best platform, Sister Sarah, will be to go to our website, which is www.ancestralvoices, is all one word, ancestral voices, like to speak, .co.uk, and they can browse and, you know, take their choice and their pick. We have free courses on there as well. So, you know, if you're coming into it new, we have articles that you can read. You know, we have one very kind of hot one, which is about how you communicate with your ancestors for those who may be starting out. So just go onto our website, ancestralvoices.co.uk.
Awesome. And I also will post the link on the actual video. So if anyone's interested in purchasing the brother's book, I will provide that information. And do you have a website or like a Facebook, or you do have a YouTube channel? What's your YouTube?
It's the same, Ancestral Voices.
Okay.
So everything is Ancestral Voices on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all Ancestral Voices.
Awesome,
just type in the word, it will come up. Yes.
Thank you again, brother, for your time. I've really enjoyed this book. Again, I'm going to purchase it in English because I need it in my library.
Wow,
and everybody, if anyone's interested, once again, you can purchase this book. And I'll see you all next time. Stay safe.
Thank you too for having me, you and your family. I appreciate you both.
Likewise, likewise.
Okay, all right. Bye-bye.